So we were in this really futuristic city, and you went into the library because you wanted to go ask them why it was so hot out. And so I was waiting for you to come back from the library. And then you came back and you had these really, really long, luscious, like curly hair. And you came back and you were like, oh man, I just did this super cool thing that I'm never going to be able to do again. And I was like, what is it? And then you had this backpack and you like threw the backpack up in the air and flipped it around and tried to kick it and then do a flip and put the backpack back on in the air. But you couldn't do it, obviously, because it was like this super amazing, cool thing that you could never do again. And while you were trying to do that, your hair was flipping around and it was hitting people. And this other guy started to get really mad that your hair kept hitting him. And he was like, hey man, watch where you're flipping that hair. And you were like, well, why don't you back up? Because this is dangerous stuff I'm doing. And then you guys started to get like, you started to square up at each other. And then I was like, why is he doing this? Like, he's just going to get beat up. And then I went over to go help you. And then the guy beat you up. Like, so you were like a flat pancake. And then he also beat me up. And I was also a flat pancake. And then it wasn't you anymore. It was just like this random kid. And it was I was also this other random kid, but I was witnessing this other random kid's perspective. And so then the first flat pancake kid started to like army crawl away onto the road. And I was like, no. And I thought that he was going home. I guess we were brothers. I thought he was going home, but he was like going onto the road. Like he couldn't get up and walk. And I was like, no, you can't go onto the road because our house, you have to army crawl through 400 blocks of Forever Freeway. That's what they called the road, because it was this huge long road that went on forever. And so they called it the Forever Freeway. And I was like, you gotta army crawl. You're never going to get there. But then he inched away and he was gone. And I was like, fuck, I gotta go find him. So I managed to army crawl to a taxi stand, but the taxis were all fish. They were all like big stuffed fish, like stuffed animal fish, not like just stuffed with cheese or something. And then, so I army crawled to the taxi and I was like, you gotta come quick. We gotta scour the Forever Freeway and find my brother. And then he was like, say no more, get in. And he already had, like, he unzipped the side of his fish body, and he already had, like, 2 stuffed teddy bears in there, and he took one out because there was no room for me. And so then he put me in, and so then I was like, go as fast as you can. So then he just, like, blasts off down the road. And we were flying for a little bit over the freeway, and I was looking for a red dot on the side of the freeway because the kid was wearing, like, a bright red tracksuit. And I couldn't find him. And I was like, you got to pretend that you're a fish because that's better. That's a better way to find him. So then he's like, okay. So then he goes to the side of the road where the ocean is and he dives us deep into the ocean. And I was like, oh, that's not what I meant. Now we're in the ocean. Like, I know he's not in the ocean, but I was like, whatever. Like, he's just getting into his fish character. And so we were like swimming around under the ocean, and there were all of these like amazing whales, boats, and submarines, and it was like this expressive, colorful art. So that anyway, we go back up to the surface, and so then we get back up, and he's like, I'm going to show you all of the fucked up things that happen in the ocean. And there was this like leaf, and there was like a gecko head and gecko feet coming out of it. And he was like, this is what happens when a leaf does shrooms with a bunch of geckos. And then there was another weird one. I don't remember what it was. But then he was like, you gotta come see this. So we went up onto this beach, and it was this pristine, beautiful white sand beach. And there were some people. It was like a really busy city. There's some people on the beach. And then he was like, look at this plant. and it was like this flat plant, but it had a fern growing out of it. And he was like, this plant is so bored during the day that it literally births a fern out of it. Like the fern is not its own, like it's not a fern. It's a different type of plant, but it somehow manages to grow a fern out of the middle of it, and then it slowly kills the fern. I was like, oh, that's because fern plants were not made to survive in the ocean. And I was thinking, like, what could happen to make this plant so bored that it would grow another plant just to kill it? And then I heard like some music, and I saw these two guys in a canoe, and they were like floating along the bay, and one of them was playing guitar and the other one was playing bass, and they were playing something like doom doom doom, and I woke up with that in my head, boom doom boom 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 boom, and they were just like chilling and floating along the bay, and I was like, that's what I want my life to be like when I'm their age. And then I woke up.